Welcome to the 98% podcast, where we hear real stories from real people. And I'm here with Cadence. So, Cadence, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Cadence Giddings. I'm a mom, a Highland Games athlete. I work as a personal trainer and fitness instructor. And then I also work in health information management, which is like medical records, but
Uh-huh.
involved there. That's about it.
That's it? Well, that sounds like a pretty...
Much farther to expand on those, I guess.
That's okay. I mean, I'm sure we'll expand more throughout the rest of the questions, but that sounds like a lot. Is that a lot?
It is.
Okay. Okay.
Usually very busy, but I enjoy it. So
Good. That's what matters. Okay. So, first question is, how do you know me?
So I met you at the Buffalo, Missouri Highland Games. So we were both competing there.
Yep. And mutual friend was Chip. I think he's the one that introduced us.
Yes.
So
Yep.
cool. And then, and it's funny because I remember you competed, and then I remember you posting a story, and I think that's what got me curious for the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. So that's why I thought that was pretty neat. So, okay. So I'll just let the audience know. So if you're listening, this is your first episode. What we do is I give the guests questions ahead of time, and then they just answer the questions. And the goal is for, hopefully you all to connect with us. And yeah, that's kind of it for the most part. Just to know that you're not alone if you're going through something similar that Cadence is going through. So here we go, Cadence. You ready?
All right.
Okay, so we're going to start at the beginning. So what was growing up like for you?
So I enjoyed my childhood. So I'm the oldest of 5 siblings. So I'm from Illinois. When I was 7, we moved down to North Carolina so my dad could go back to school. So I went from having a neighborhood full of kids and friends to a new neighborhood full of kids. So that was very stressful for me at the time, adjusting. We had no family there. So got to meet people and kind of start over. I went to school at a very small school on the college campus, which was neat. We got to go to college classes here and there, and I got to meet people from all over the place, which was a lot of fun. Looking at my notes here, I lived out in the country by the woods, so I spent a lot of time outside. We would go to the mountains frequently and go hiking or swimming. So that's kind of where my love for being outdoors came from. Then when I was a teenager, we moved back to Illinois. And so had to start fresh all over again, make new friends at another new school. I had a very religious upbringing. So that became kind of a point of contention once I was a teenager. Kind of butt heads with my parents a bit, was really rebellious, and then grew up and figured out, they were right about a lot of things. So, so those moves and those new starts, grateful for them. At the time, I didn't want to move away from all my family and everything I'd known. And then when it came time for us to move back, I didn't want to leave my friends and the little life I had there. But in hindsight, I'm glad I did, because I had a lot of experiences that I wouldn't have otherwise had. So kind of had a magical childhood with getting all these neat experiences that I wouldn't have had we stayed here in Illinois. So
yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty cool to have a silver lining, though. I love when people can come up with like the positive of that, because I'm sure that was actually in the moment was probably pretty difficult, I would say. Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah, it was very stressful. And then I dealt with anxiety and depression from really young. So those were kind of big events in that respect. But my family's very close-knit, and so now we all live within like 15 minutes of each other.
Huh,
So it's great, and I have a good relationship with my siblings and my parents. So
that's nice.
yeah.
Okay, so having five siblings, I'm sure you all have some fun stories. So,
Oh,
what's one of your most memorable stories from all y'all siblings?
ooh, I used to babysit them a lot, and so they will say that I was mean big sister. So they would
Yeah.
to like get out of the house, and we had
Hmm.
woods by our house, and we either go hide across the street at the park or at the woods. Um, I don't know. There's a lot of stories.
A lot of stories.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm one of three, but say I was the oldest of three, but also it's kind of more like two because my brother's 15 years younger.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up with just me and my sisters, and I remember doing some crazy stuff too. So I can't imagine five of you.
So there's 10 years between me and the youngest sibling. So
Okay.
um, they weren't so bad off because they weren't old enough to fight with or have
Uh-huh.
disagreements. But so we're all pretty close now, though.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah. 15 minutes away. That's
Hmm.
pretty darn close. Yeah.
So, yep, I get to see them at least weekly. And then we do family dinners all the time. So it's
Hmm.
nice.
Nice. So, what's the difference you think between being a child back when we were kids to being a kid now?
Ooh, there is so much more. I don't know. I'm glad I'm not a child now.
Oh yeah, why is that?
um, my daughter's 8, and
Mhm.
she hears and says and comes home from school with. I'm like, oh, I didn't encounter a lot of that till I was older. But with technology, that's a huge thing. I enjoyed being an unplugged child, I guess, and
Mhm.
being outside, not having all these extra influences. Like we had, kids at school and whatnot, but it seems like there's just a lot more information, good and bad, out there
Mhm.
that's very easily accessible to kids now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So my daughter is also 8, she's getting ready to turn 9,
Oh,
and, she's, like, the biggest thing now is 6, 7, so do you know anything about that?
no. That's it. And I'm like, I don't even know if I want to look it up.
That's, like, my big thing right now is she says that, I'm like, "What does that even mean?" And then now I catch myself saying it all the time, so I'm saying it all the time, and it means, like, nothing. It's ridiculous. So that's funny. Okay, cool. So, what we'll do is we'll go to the next question. So, this one, I always am fascinated by this question because I love hearing what people have gone through. So, what is the biggest struggle that you have made it through?
Okay. So, had history of anxiety and depression my whole life, pretty much.
Uh-huh.
So, several years ago, I was in an accident. And so, while that was physically hard, it was also just as hard, if not harder, mentally for me.
Uh-huh.
So, it's a backstory. One of my grandmas had horses when I was a kid, and so I'd always go down to her house and had this childhood dream of becoming some kind of great equestrian. And
Uh-huh.
with 5 of us, I couldn't do riding lessons as a kid. So it was probably in like 2020. I was like, oh, I can go do this now. I'm an adult with my own money. I'm going to go take horseback riding lessons.
Uh-huh.
I did, and I got into showing horses. So I was at a competition riding a horse that I'd ridden for several years. My daughter had ridden her. Um, and she was kind of spooked and was not responsive. It was usually really easy to keep this horse under control. But I got thrown in the middle of the competition and rolled several times and came to be resting in a sitting position. And it just felt like my lower back was on fire. And everyone ran out,
Uh-huh.
don't move. And they asked if I'd like an ambulance to come check me out. And I was like, well, just in case. I checked that I could wiggle my toes, and that was fine. But so they called an ambulance, and they came and apparently thought it was a lot more serious than I did. And so I had to be strapped onto a board and taken off to the hospital, wasn't allowed to move for several hours. And then I got some imaging done, and then come to find out I had fractured several vertebrae.
Mm.
So I was kind of in shock and concussed. So I didn't really grasp the gravity of the situation at the time till they said we need to transfer you like an hour away to a bigger hospital to have more of a workup done. So I went there and then lots more testing, and then had a neurosurgeon come in and say that I had some burst fractures, which is like when your vertebrae's been smashed, pretty much.
Mm.
And so then they started to talk about surgery. And basically, I would have 2 rods coming up from the bottom vertebrae and then 2 down. And then mobility would be really challenging after that. And then perhaps, pain issues down the road. So that's kind of when it hit me that this active life, because I was in the gym, horseback riding, hiking, yoga, running around with my daughter. I've always been a very active person. Like that is potentially being taken away from me in a second, especially
Mm.
doing something that was like a dream of mine that I'd always wanted to be doing. Um, so that is kind of when I started to crumble. And
Mhm.
uh, yeah, just having all my hopes for the future, I guess, being in the balance. So after some more testing and consulting, they said I would not need surgery. They had a point scale, and they said I was 1 point away from needing to have surgical intervention. So I was really relieved. I did have to wear a back brace that was like a hard, they called it like a turtle shell. Had to be
Mhm.
strapped into it. Could only take it off to go to bed or shower. Had to wear that for 6 to 8 weeks, they said. And then if things were progressing fine, um, that would be it. I wouldn't need any other kind of interventions. So with that, not only had my plans for my future changed, but also I was rendered pretty much incapable of doing anything for myself for quite a while. My mom would have to come over every night and help me get into bed because I couldn't bend at all when I had the brace off. Um, I had just started a new position at work, and so my new coworkers, I'd have to ask them things like, "Hey, can you tie my shoe?" or
Mm.
"I dropped my pen. Can you grab that for me?" So I was really dependent on everyone around me. Even my daughter was like, "It's like you're the child now, and I got to take care of you." And while it was funny, it kind of broke me inside a little bit because I felt like this huge burden on everybody. I had to
Mhm.
be driven everywhere. I couldn't get up out of a chair by myself for a long time. Um, so, not knowing what the future was going to hold for me, and then having to rely on everyone really quickly ate away at my mental health. Was never really one to ask for help with a lot of things. I'd rather be helping people. Um, and so I was worried it was going to affect my jobs, but they were very accommodating. At the gym for my personal training job, I couldn't lift anything at all, and then I couldn't, demonstrate proper form. But they got me an assistant and an intern, so I was still able to go to work. So things kind of were working themselves out. But it was still really hard to not be able to do anything for myself and to rely on other people. So I did um, get pretty depressed during that time. Um, And so there were a lot of times that I was very irritable. So it wasn't a good time period for me. But at my 5-week checkup, they did some x rays and they said things were stable. So I was able to get out of my brace. Um, so then it was going to be the long road of recovering. So I was not able still to lift hardly anything. My spine felt like spaghetti without the brace. So they said
Uh-huh.
I'd pretty much be starting at the bottom, like physically, and need to relearn everything in the gym. Um, and then, so it was a long road recovering from that. But looking back, I can see a lot of things, a lot of lessons that I learned through that.
Uh-huh.
Learned to accept help from other people. So, and that other
Uh-huh.
people were more willing to help than I would have thought. Like, even it was near Halloween, so we had a candy dish in the office. And so I would be shuffling over my brace to get one. And the lady next to me was like, "Oh, let me get some for you." And she'd bring a big handful, which I maybe didn't need. But everyone at work was very accommodating, very kind. And then my family, who was taking care of me during this, it was an inconvenience for a lot of people, but no one ever made me feel like that. I put that on myself.
Mhm.
But so people were very helpful. And then as I was recovering, um, getting back into the gym, it was very frustrating to know that, I was at this level of fitness and now I have to start, with small weights and things that I, thought I would never touch again. And so then I tried to think, if someone else had had this injury and were coming to me for training, how would I respond to them? And so I had to work on extending the same patience and grace that I would to someone else to myself, which I found hard. Because on one hand, I was like, I need to get back to where I was, but it was important to do that slowly and safely. Um, and then, so mentally, that struggle of, what's the future going to look like? Um, it was just a lot of patience and baby steps trying to get back to baseline, I guess, with everything. And over time, I felt a lot better. Um, there were certainly times during recovery when it felt like, this is never going to end. I'm just trapped at home, sitting in this chair. It's going to be forever before I get this brace off and can do anything. Um, there were times when I was really frustrated that I was like, I wish I just would have died when I fell off the horse. Um,
Uh,
because I just didn't know how I could ever get back to where I was. Um, so it just took a lot of time. And then in hindsight, it was kind of a blessing to be a beginner again, like in the gym,
mhm.
um, to be able to watch myself kind of go from the very start and then come back. And then in the end, I've been able to lift heavier and do more than I was before my accident. So I don't have any lingering problems, thankfully. Able to do Highland games and other
Mhm.
physical things and not have any issues. So that is probably the biggest struggle I've overcame.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, now you're a Highland Games competitor.
Yeah.
That's wild. Okay, so what was the thing that kept you going? Because I know in moments like that, when things are difficult and we're going through struggles like that, sometimes it's hard to find that thing. So what was that thing for you?
For me, um, my daughter, for one thing, I was like, I can't give up. I've got to show her that you can do anything. We can do hard things. So even though it was very challenging, I was like, I've got to recover so I can have an active life and watch her grow up and be able to be involved with her. And then the other side was for me, like I knew I wasn't done yet. I still had
Uh-huh.
things I wanted to achieve and do. And so I just kind of had to dig in and be like, I'm going to get through this. Um, just that desire to, see what the future would hold if I can just get through this chapter here, hang on. And I had good support people. So
Uh-huh.
having my family and friends to rely on and their encouragement. And then the people that I worked with at the gym, my students, they were like, you're going to bounce back so fast. You'll be fine. So the encouragement of a lot of people really helped in those hard moments.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't think people realize that even the smallest things that people say sometimes can have a huge impact on our lives, especially when we're going through times like that.
Mhm.
So, what was the timeline for this? So, like, when the accident happened to when you felt like like when you felt better, what was that time frame between there?
So the accident was in September. I got my brace off a few days before Halloween, so I got it off a week earlier than they thought. So that was
Uh
encouraging.
huh.
Um, but it probably took until like January to really feel
Mm,
better, like mentally, and then
yeah.
to be able to do a lot without pain. It was probably into the spring, like March.
Hmm.
So, there was,
Wow.
so it was long and slow going, but
For sure. Yeah. And there's one thing that you mentioned that you did that I think's awesome is because we're always our worst critics. And what I always tell people is when things happen, it's like, how do you talk to yourself as if you're talking to your best friend or talking to a friend? And you mentioned doing that, of thinking that. And that's super good best practice because, yeah, we're always hard on ourselves. And you think about it like, would you talk to your friend like that?
right.
No. What would you say to your friend? And it's like, wow, if I just say that to me, that feels much kinder.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's awesome story. Because I remember, because I think that was like what you posted, I believe, that got
I
me
think
really intrigued. So I tried not to read too much because I wanted to be surprised when you shared it.
so.
Um, so that's pretty wild. So that's really cool that you got through that because that's I'm sure to your point, right? In hindsight, there's a lot of character and a lot of really actual probably special moments created from that thing.
Mhm.
So it's neat. Okay, so next question. So what are you currently going through that's positive or negative?
Okay. Um, so recently my husband and I separated. So
Mm,
that has been a sad and hard situation. But at the same time, we've chosen to look at it as just another opportunity to learn and grow from.
mm,
Um, so trying to be positive about it and seeing, what are the good outcomes that can happen from this.
mm,
So I've had to sit down and be like, this is my situation. How can I get through this? Um, what is here for me to learn from? So I've learned a lot about myself, um, and then you know, about other people, different ways of communicating or what I need may be different than someone else.
mm,
But also looking at it as like this is a fresh start, like a reset in my life after kind of a period of stagnation. So
mm,
even though it's been challenging in a lot of aspects, been lucky that it's amicable and that it's another situation where I can dig deep and grow from it, I guess, and try to make positive changes in my life.
mm. Mm,
So
yeah,
trying
that's
to,
oh, sorry,
I
continue.
would say, just trying to find um, positives and a silver lining in a
Uh,
situation that most people don't think they would end up in, I guess.
yeah. No, and I get that. That's tough. So I've been divorced for like 4 years.
Oh,
So I yeah, I know what that's like and it sucks. Like there's no way to say it. It does suck, right? Like the way you go about it is different. Like some people make it ugly. I didn't want to make it ugly. We did a great job there. It sounds like you did the same thing. But yeah, it's a whole different shift, right? You're shifting how things were, especially if you've been together a while, thinking about it's almost like an identity shift. Like, well, how do I go through life now this way because it's always been this other way?
yeah,
Yeah, and it's scary at times. So I totally get that. And it sounds like you're an optimistic person. Is that fair to say? Are you pretty optimistic?
I think so. I didn't used to
I
be.
was gonna,
For the years I've tried
yeah, yeah,
to cultivate that. So,
yeah. I got you. Yeah, it's because I can tell by the way you share information, you have a positive spin on it always, which is good because it's. I mean, the opposite of going through it pessimistically is probably not ideal.
right.
Um, but yeah, no, I get you there, and it's a tough thing. Um, but yeah, to your point, use it as an opportunity to grow and learn about yourself, and things will always work out, even if it doesn't feel like it. Um, that's how it was for me, and sometimes it takes years and years, but it happens. It works its way out. So, and then you'll look back on it like you did on your accident and think, you know what, this. I'm glad it happened. So. Okay. So thank you for sharing that too, by the way. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And if you ever need anything, just let me know because I've been through it. So if you need to talk about anything, just let me know.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. And then what is let's see. Oh, who has changed your life that doesn't know it?
So that was a hard one.
Uh-huh.
Because I feel like there's like lots of little pieces of advice and things over the years from all kinds of people that have helped change my life. So I tried to kind of narrow it down. I had a teacher in high school. Um, she taught several different classes, but anytime I was struggling with things, she would always check in on me and see how I was doing and would pull me aside. And she was great with encouragement. She would always be like, you're really smart. You can do anything, or you're not going to be in this place forever. Just, do your best and you can get on with life after high school. Just hang in there. The school I went to was like a small religious private school. And so there was a lot of frustration there with different rules and things. But she was a calm and centered and grounded person that was always there. And so a lot of us felt that way about her. And she was also my piano teacher. So I would get to see her several times a week, not just at school. But I did not ever get the chance to tell her how much she meant to me. She passed a few years ago,
Mhm.
but she really did make a big impact on me. So,
Mhm.
and then there was a time within the past couple years when I was struggling. There's a lake nearby, and that's kind of my little go to place um, to go contemplate things. And so I was sitting out there, not having a great time, and this old man, I don't know him, in his truck, he drove by one way, and then later he came back by and he stopped and asked if I was okay and wanted to know what I was doing out there alone on a bench. And I was sitting there trying to be like, oh, you don't see me crying about anything. But just a stranger who went out of his way and was really kind and encouraging. And so I was like, well, now I don't want to let this random old man down. I'm going to go and try to have a good rest of the day.
uh,
It was just one of those instances where, like, you feel like alone or not sure what to do, and someone just kind of had a random act of kindness to show you that there are people who care. Like, he doesn't know me,
Mm.
but just took that time out of his day to stop and check on someone. And so I think of that person a lot where I'm like, I would like to be that for somebody. Just that little voice that's kind of like, keep going, you can do it. And so those are two people who changed me for good that don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, people don't realize the impact they make with those small things. Because to him, it might have just been like, let's just have a conversation, right? And to you, it meant the world. So to go back to your piano teacher that you mentioned, so if she was still with us today, what would you tell her?
I would thank her immensely for all of her encouragement, being a listening ear, and always there with a hug on a hard day. And I would tell her that she got me through some very tough places. Yeah, and that she was one of the reasons that kept me going some days. Like, I would look forward to classes with her. And if the rest of the day was not going great, it's like, well, at least, Mrs. T will have class at 2 o'clock today. And then I can finally, feel relaxed and know that somebody's there for me. So just thank her a bunch.
I love that. I'm sure she heard that somewhere. Okay. So I love it. Okay. And so what is a skill or talent that you could share with us?
Okay. Um, in addition to working at the hospital and at the gym, I'm also a baker. So
Okay.
I started baking really young. My mom's a very talented baker and like cake decorator. So helping her from a young age, it just kind of became something I did too. So in 2020, my sister, one of them, and I were like, we're going to start a bakery. So she does help, but I have a cottage bakery called Sugar and Moon Crafted Sweets. And so it's kind of taken a back seat this year to Highland Games, but I still do orders for my regulars. But I do cake decorating, and I like coming up with different like flavor combinations and fillings and things. But do cookies, a lot of cookies and cakes mostly. So
Nice.
it's creative, and there's like an art aspect to it when I get inspiration pictures from a client and they're like, make me something like this. So it's a lot of fun.
That's cool. So my daughter is obsessed with Is It Cake? Do you
Oh,
ever do things like that?
I haven't tried that. That's kind of intimidating.
Is it? I feel like I feel like that's definitely a skill for sure. Like I can't, like some of the stuff they do, it's like, it's so hard to tell. It's like crazy that they have that artistry. It's
Yeah.
wild.
So I'm not on that level. So
No? Okay.
no.
Cool. Well, that's neat. So a bakery. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's see. So what are you learning about currently that you could teach us?
So, something that I've kind of gone back and forth on throughout the years, but have restarted. One of my doctors had me start doing this years ago to help with anxiety. So it helps in hard times, but also when life's going good, it's fine too. But what it is every day you find three things to be thankful for, and you write them
Mhm.
down. But the catch is they can never be the same thing. So whatever you were thankful for today, you can't be tomorrow or a month from now. Um, so it can be something simple like, I like how the sun's coming through the leaves this morning, or it can be, I got a promotion today. It doesn't matter what, but by making it need to be something different every day, it kind of gets you out of your head a little bit and you're noticing things around you. And I like to think of it as like I like to write it down physically, like in a journal. And now I
Uh-huh.
can look back, several years ago up to now and see like all this proof of good things happening in my life. So even when things are hard, you can look back and say, well, all these good things happened to me. Even if they're insignificant, there's still beauty and joy in the world, and you're able to notice it. And and that's what I like about you can't recycle the same things you're thankful for. It keeps you looking for things to be thankful for.
Uh-huh.
And so that would be something I think anybody should try at any
Mhm.
time.
Cool. I like that. And that's simple enough for anybody listening to do that. So
Yeah.
I always highly encourage that too. So I journal, I don't journal as much as I used to, but there was a few years where I journaled a lot. And it was for the same reasons. Like there was a gratitude part of the journal, there was a growth part of the journal, and I just kind of set up a lot of different things. But I always did it for that reason is we get so used to how things are that we forget how far we've come.
Mm.
And to be able to jot it down, I think it's super important for us to reflect, especially like, yeah, when we're having a bad day, it's like, hold on, let me look at my journal and like, wow, I actually have been getting a lot done, or I have, and it's like, it's just cool to be able to reflect and see that. So yeah, that's a really good best practice. Okay. So now next question. So what are you doing for fun?
Okay. Aside from Highland Games and the gym,
Uh-huh.
um, I do, if any activity is like physically active or creative or outside, I'm drawn
Uh-huh.
to it. So I do yoga and I've gotten back into jujitsu. So I'm doing those. And then now that it's cooling off outside, I've been doing a lot more outdoor things. I like hiking, kayaking, camping. And then I'm a big reader. So I
Uh-huh.
usually have a couple books going at once. I like to have at least like one fiction book for fun and then like a nonfiction for like self improvement or history books I like. So a lot of reading, and then I like doing art. And then I'm in my county's choral society, so we sing once a week. So kind of all over the place, but
Uh-huh. That's fun. That sounds familiar. I'm the exact same way. I got way too much going on all the time. Okay. So a few follow-ups though. So jujitsu's awesome. So how long you been in jujitsu?
well, just for like a month now.
Okay.
So about a decade ago, I did it for a little while, and then it
Okay.
was kind of a scheduling thing. And so now I have the availability to be able to go again. So it's another starting back at the beginning thing and redoing, but it's a lot of fun.
Nice. Okay. So what's your favorite submission?
Mm, I'm still trying to remember the names. We practice them so much.
Hmm.
I think it's Kimura's.
The Kimura?
Mm-hmm.
Mm, okay. Like where you're basically twerking their arm behind their back like this.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. That's a
So
good one.
it's fun.
Cool. Okay. I dig that. Okay, sweet. And then oh, you mentioned one more thing that I was gonna ask a follow-up on. Let's see. Oh, books. What's your go-to nonfiction book or self-help book? I'm curious.
Ooh. Um, I'm rereading The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And then what?
I'm laughing because I was literally gonna. Okay, so that's like my go-to book,
Ah,
and I was literally almost like thinking, "What if she said?" And you literally started saying it. I was like, "That is hilarious." I literally and I recommend that book to every single person I know, because I started reading that right after my divorce, and I remember it helping tremendously. It gave me such a fresh perspective on what's going on. So yeah. So tell me more. So what did you get out of that?
I'm still in the middle of it. So yeah, I'd read
Uh-huh.
it years ago, but just that persistence and changing perspective and trying to instead of resisting whatever your obstacle is, trying to find
Uh-huh.
a way through and not giving up and taking action. So it's been very helpful.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Well, that's funny. I'm glad I asked that because that's hilarious that that was like your go-to because that's like I said, that's my go-to. I love it. Cool. Okay. Sweet. Let's see. And then we covered a lot today. So this is one of my favorite questions. So if you were to write a story of your life from when you were born to now, what would that story be called?
So that one took me a while to
Uh-huh.
come up with. So I was like, how do you condense everything down? So I came up with grit and growth because there's just been a lot of instances where I've had to kind of start over and, you know, stand up, dust myself off, and try again. So,
Uh-huh.
and then I'm trying every time that happens to learn from it for the next time that it happens. So,
Nice. I like it. Okay. So we have two parts left to this podcast. So this next part is basically it's your time to shine essentially. So whatever you want to share, if it's your socials, if you want to talk about something we haven't talked about yet, if you want to promote anything or market anything on your end, this is your time. So if you want to take this time to do any of that, feel free.
okay. Well, I you can find me on socials on Instagram. It's mainly gym stuff or outdoors or Highland Games things. That's at Katie Giddings. And then my bakery page, I haven't been very active on it since I've been busy with everything else, but it's Sugar and Moon Crafted Sweets. As far as what's going on in my life, I've got a Highland Games this weekend in Springfield, Illinois. So I'll probably have videos of that. That's about it. I don't have anything to promote. So.
That's it. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Now, this is one of my favorite parts of the podcast. So now what we do is the last guest created a question, not knowing it was for you. And then you're going to create a question for the next guest. So this is going to be a surprise. So you don't know what this question is. So
Okay.
here we go. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. So what does connecting to another human really mean to you?
Mm. Guess getting to know them more than just surface level, I guess.
Huh?
Knowing their background and then knowing mine, and then what struggles I guess someone's gone through or is facing, and having that bridge there that you're knowing, I guess, someone on a deeper level, like what
Uh-huh.
they're going through. Um, and finding a common ground, I guess, with someone, I think is essential for connecting with them. So
Nice.
I feel like that's a great answer.
Okay. It is what it is. So I thought it was a great answer.
Oh, thank
Okay. So now what question do you want to leave the next guest?
So my question is, what advice are you good at giving to others that you need to take yourself?
It's funny how fitting that is for kind of the conversation you've been having about talking to yourself like your best friend.
Yeah.
But so I would love to hear your answer to this.
So for mine, it kind of does feed into that. For me, if someone makes a mistake or something, I'm quick to encourage them and be like, it's fine. Everybody makes mistakes. It's no big deal.
Uh-huh.
But it doesn't apply to me, because I'll beat myself up over it, or, think, that wasn't good enough, or I can do better. So I need to work on having a little more grace with myself, I guess, like I would with somebody else.
Awesome. Yeah. I think we can all do that for sure. So, so I will not answer this question right now, but I will let you know. So what I do is I do 10 episode recaps every 10 episodes I recap
Ah,
and I talk about the episode and then I answer your all's questions. So I think you're going to be I think this is going to be 48, I believe. So when we get to 50, I'll go through and then you will get to hear my answer to your
oh,
question.
cool.
So cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. Okay. So this has been great. So I'm so glad that you hopped on here and got to share your story. Now, what would you want to leave as we close out? What would you want to leave the audience with?
Hmm. I would say that um, any kind of difficult experience you're going through, it may not feel like it now, but down the road, you will be stronger for it. So there's that little saying like there's no rain, no flowers. So sometimes we have to go through things in order to get to a better place. And we may not see that for a long time, but just hang in there and things are going to work out.
Okay, I like that. That was a perfect sign off for this episode. I dig it.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, so anything else that you want to share before we hop off?
I don't think so. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, your episode should debut this Friday. So I'll get working on that and editing it. And as soon as I get it done, I'll send it to you. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, perfect. Cadence, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
I'll catch you later.
All right. See ya.